Just imagine running one of the most talked about sports experiences in America, touring stadiums and selling out every single game. They have 40 million people on their waiting list for tickets. Then, when the lights go out, opening your home to children who need a family. Today's guest doesn't just put fans first, she puts children first. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. My guest today is Emily Cole. Emily's the co-owner of the Savannah Bananas and the co-founder of Bananas Foster. She and her husband Jesse turned a struggling baseball team into a cultural phenomena, all while getting licensed to become foster parents and very fierce advocates. So, Emily, welcome to Think Your Way to an Epic Life.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
I've been looking forward to this quite a bit. So if you don't mind, let's just jump right smack dab into the middle of your foster story. What was the moment that made you and Jesse go, let's do this?
Yeah, we were at this crossroads. We had a 1-year-old little boy, and you get to that point where I'm sure a lot of couples do of, are we going to grow our family, and what is that going to look like? And we had always talked about adoption. And so we said, we've been blessed with one little boy, and why don't we at least explore this opportunity and what else is out there that we don't even know about? Because we'd both grown up really not connected to or had been shown a lot about the adoption world. So we really just wanted to learn. And this is where my eyes opened up to the whole foster care world. I didn't even know that it existed. And so just by starting to look up things for adoption, I was introduced to foster care and this concept of foster care, and found out that there were 400,000 children already in the United States without permanent homes. And so once we started learning about that, it was something that we just could not take out of our minds and something that we couldn't walk away from. And so we decided that year to go ahead and get licensed. And we didn't know exactly what that was going to look like for our family, because the goal with foster care is always to reunify these children with biological family. But I knew that I was already blessed to be a mom. I loved being a mom. And these kids, at least in this moment, needed a mother figure. They needed somebody to care for them. And so while originally we had looked at adoption, to us at this point, once we learned about it, it was not, hey, we're going to grow our family permanently. It was just, are there opportunities to bring children into our home and walk alongside of them and their family and care for them while some things get worked out on their side? And I can be a mother figure in that sense. And so, really, our whole mindset shifted from have another biological child to we're going to go private adoption to wait, we're not even going to grow our family permanently. We're just going to bring in somebody for the time being. But, anyways, that's the long story of how we even got into foster care.
Oh my goodness. How exciting. And I kind of know, I don't know the end of the story because it's still being played out, but I kind of know how this all goes. And it's just so amazing that that was not your plan. So, running the bananas has got to be like unbelievably high octane, like drive, 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 go, go, go. And fostering is like I can't even begin to imagine the stuff that you go through. I mean, oh my gosh, just as I'm saying it, I'm thinking of the things that these kids are telling you and you're dealing with. And so, how do you balance these two worlds?
Oh man, balance is something that I've never been great at. And the older I get and the more that we are balancing things, I've learned that I'm more so focused on harmonizing things together. I tell myself that if I'm trying to balance it, everything has to be kept even. And I have just gotten very aware and realistic that I'm never going to keep things very even, but I do try to harmonize all of our different interests and lifestyles together. And so, what I mean by that is we travel full time with the teams, and we have now become homeschool parents because that was the only thing that would work for keeping our family together. And so the same thing with foster care. It was just the book tells you that the routine is, hey, you live in one county and you foster children and you go to the same courthouse and you have the same visitations every week. And so while that would have been nice to follow that blueprint, we were living a different life where we were all over the country and busy every day growing these brands and these teams, and I had to somehow weave in this whole foster care world. And so it was not balanced well, but I do think that we harmonized it together. The kids grew up at the field, and we would take meetings as we were flying home for a visit or flying home for therapy or something. And it was very much a grueling, I guess, time period for our family, but we just had to weave in all of our interests. And we were not going to say that foster care wasn't going to work for us right now because we had this other thing going on. It was just a matter of figuring out how we could harmonize those interests together.
That is so incredible. So you had to get waivers or approval from
Oh,
the court
yeah.
to take these kids to, you had to jump through. Oh my gosh. And what a way for a kid who came from something broken to be able to live. I just they must be the most grateful humans on the planet.
Well, yes, but they've also never known anything different. And, we've had our girls at least since we were little, since they were little, and so they've grown up in this life. And we're very open about their backgrounds, and we talk to them, at an age appropriate level so that they can understand. And what's so beautiful is that both of our daughters who have been adopted out of foster care, their hearts to serve others, it's like this innate thing in them because they're still too young to truly want to make that decision on their own, but they innately want to care for others constantly. And we will probably talk about this later, but when I go out in the field and we recognize foster families at our Savannah Bananas games or any of our banana ball games, our daughters have pretty much memorized what I say out on the field, and they walk around the house talking about celebrating foster families and how incredible it is that people serve these children. And so it's just a part of who they are now because they are so exposed to it. So yeah, I think we are definitely the grateful ones that they ended up in our life. And again, it was not supposed to be that way. They were supposed to reunify, but for certain reasons they were not able to, and so they are now permanently a part of our family.
Well, that's amazing and it's wonderful. And what shifted, like emotionally, these are foster kids. I have to have some, you had to protect yourself. You had to have some kind of guard, right? Or no? You just, I don't know.
It's one of the things that I hear the most from people is, oh, I could never foster because I would get too attached. And I understand it's heartbreaking to think that after years of raising these children, they are no longer your children. But from very early on, I was taught this lesson and it still stays with me. They were never they were never supposed to be mine. That's not what their story was supposed to be. I am blessed now to have them. But in that moment of me saying yes to a foster placement, the only thing that I need to be thinking about is their life, the betterment of them and how I can enrich it. My goal, my job is to care for them. If I'm going to say no because I'm worried about my heartbreaking, how can I expect a child who has not developed their brain? What are they going through? And so it is easier for me to say yes, knowing that I might get my heart broken years down the line if they leave our home, knowing that my job is to keep them healthy, to keep them safe, to love them, to come alongside of them and give them what every child should be getting. If I keep that as my North Star, and I know that, hey, I can deal with the pain later, but they shouldn't have to, it makes it a whole lot easier to say yes. That perspective changes a lot when you take the worry and the fear off of your own emotions and you think about what you're supposed to be serving them as and how you're supposed to be serving them. So yes, there are barriers. I understand not wanting to let certain people in by protecting yourself. We're human. We do that naturally. But that mindset shift has really helped me to say, you cannot worry about your own heartache. You need to worry about the current heartache that they're going through and show up for them.
Good girl. That was so well spoken. That should be on billboards. I mean, really, you that and I'm sure that Banana Foster was born out of your first two. So can you kind of tell us how that happened?
Yeah, we are so blessed to have the platform that Banana Ball has given us. It's grown tremendously, bigger than we ever imagined it would, and we're so grateful for that. We're having so much fun building those brands. But we also feel like we have a responsibility at this size to do good in the world. There's a lot of eyeballs on us, and while we do create a lot of joy in the world, and I'm very proud of that, it it still feels like we have even more responsibility to do more good. And so knowing that Jesse and I have this heart for foster care, it's so close to us, and our entire company has helped these girls grow up in our family. Everybody's gotten to know them. So it's not just a passion for myself and my husband. It's everybody who's around us now. It's the whole organization. It felt like the right thing to do to bring that passion in and combine it with what we're doing as an organization and use that platform for good. And so I think when a lot of organizations or companies want to have a charitable arm or a nonprofit, foundation, there's a lot of great objects or a lot of great themes in the world or causes that you could fight for. This one just felt so natural to all of us because of who we are as a family, how much we care for kids as a family, but also as an organization. If you look at the demographics of who's in our audience, in our stadiums, it's families. And so when we get to that point of saying, hey, we have a responsibility, we have a voice, we need to do good in the world, we have this thing over here that we are super passionate about that we don't think the world is talking about enough, because foster care is sort of this taboo topic still for a lot of people, or even me. I didn't even know about it like 10 years ago. And so anyways, all of that kind of culminated into us saying, what if we could do something for foster care, for kids in foster care, for people who are already doing great things in foster care, and just shine a light on it. And of course, Jesse, my genius husband, wakes up in the middle of the night one night with the idea and the name Bananas Foster, which was just perfect. And so from there on, it was green light, and it was, hey, let's start this. Let's truly use our voice and our platform to shine a light on this topic that we think is incredibly important in this country.
It is so, so, so important. I mean, if we can help kids, we can help our whole country. And that is amazing that you guys are doing that. So that is the main purpose of it, is to just is for awareness.
Yeah, we thought long and hard when starting this, is, what is this going to be? What is this going to look like? And very early on, we said we don't want to step on anybody's toes. We're not trying to come in and shake up the foster care world. That's not what we're good at. That's not where we should be focusing. But for us, it was our voice, it was that platform. And we are fortunate to have the attention of a lot of people. We've got close to 4 million people on a ticket wait list right now. And so, if we could influence just a small fraction of them, if we could just educate them or bring awareness about it, that is where we really wanted to go. And another thing that was very easy for us to decide was what kind of nonprofit we wanted to be. And what I mean by that is, when you look at Banana Ball and the Savannah Bananas, you think dancing, you think joy, you think laughter, you think happiness, right? That is who we are as an organization. We wanted to make sure that our nonprofit was aligned with that. And so rather than be a group that stands up there and talks about all the really sad statistics and just fundraises, maybe collects items. Those are all really important things. There are people who are doing that. But for us, we wanted to make sure we were staying true to who we were as an organization to keep things more aligned. And so we said, what if we just celebrate the good that is happening in the foster care world? Because there is a lot of good. Yes, I could stand here and talk about the horrible things that are happening, but there is a lot of good. And so that's how Bananas Foster was created, was to celebrate the people who are already doing incredible things in the foster care world while also educating and inspiring new people to get involved by using the audience that we have. So that is the mission of who we are and what we do, and that is, we try to keep that as our North Star.
That is so incredibly brilliant, and I love it. And it is so cool that you're using your platform for that. You probably know at least a ballpark. What would it cost if I wanted to come in and promote something at your game and take as much time as you give to the the banana foster?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Bananas Foster.
How much would that price tag be, especially in a sold out 100,000 seat stadium?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's an interesting question, and I'm gonna say that it's priceless because we actually are not conventional in the way that we have sponsors. So we do not do the normal billboards in the outfield, PA reads over the announcements. We actually don't take on sponsors for those reasons because we don't want it to seem like an ad. And so we don't do other things like this. Everything that we do at our game is to bring enjoyment, or now awareness, to the people who are in the audience. And so it's kind of a priceless price tag because nobody else is getting the exposure that we're giving foster care.
Oh my gosh, I bet they're beating down your doors trying to give you money. That's a whole different podcast though.
Yeah.
So you bring these kids out and you spotlight them at the games. What are some of the reactions that you get from that?
Well, first of all, we really do try to focus on the family as a whole. These foster families have likely been doing this for years, sometimes decades, and it's a pretty thankless job. They have been through hell and back with these kids and through horrible situations and traumas. And nobody is really focusing on the families who are doing this. And so we really do try to focus on them. But the idea is to just give them an experience where they can escape the hardships and they can escape the hard day to day stuff that they're going through. There's so much between court dates and visitations and therapies and appointments and enrolling a kid in a new school and name changes and security. I mean, there's so much out there that is daunting, that is on these families. And so we try to give an experience to them that allows them to just have a good time with their family. Yes, often there are foster children involved in that, but even if they aren't able to come, it's the parents, it's the biological siblings who have been in this family supporting the kids who are coming in and out of their home. And so the idea is to just provide an experience that allows them to feel seen and to enjoy a family day out where there isn't, uh, you know, there's not trauma around the corner and there's not hardship around the corner. It's just a fun family day out, which a lot of us take for granted. And it's not something that's in their day to day right now because of this path that they've chosen to walk. So, from a reaction standpoint, I mean, obviously anybody would love to be down on the field with these players and being treated like superstars and being banked in front of a massive stadium. I mean, it's a surreal moment and people are crying and enjoying it. But for us, it's just about making sure that they know that they're seen and heard and appreciated and try to give them the encouragement to go on. There's a statistic that will never leave me that 50% of foster families quit within the first year, and it's because of the lack of support. And so we have this churn and burn through foster families. Even if we can hook people and we can convince them to get licensed, it's so hard and there's so little support that after the first year they're like, we're out. I can't do this to my family anymore. And so we are trying to kind of walk along those families and support them and say, you are celebrated, you are appreciated, stick it out, these kids need you, how can we help, that sort of thing. And so that's what brings us great joy.
Gosh, that's amazing because burnout is real.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of grateful that it's only 50% because
Yeah.
it's exhausting, especially for families that are not calloused to be able to deal with those kind of things. They're not used to it. Oh my gosh, what
Right.
you so cool. I absolutely love it. And thank you for getting those families to stay in.
Hmm.
What else, what do you feel is missing? And not that I'm asking you to provide it. My gosh, you guys, I'm just saying, what do you think is missing to support the families? What else, if somebody's watching this and they're like, I would love to help out a family occasionally or do, make it a little easier. What could
Yeah.
some,
Well, I think it really starts with the awareness. There are so many great people in this world who would love to make an impact and support, and I just don't think that they know how. And so one of our projects that we are working on is just creating this massive database of all of the great organizations in the country who are doing good things for people in foster care. It is totally understandable that somebody listening to this might not be at a point in their life where they're like, okay, sign me up, I can foster. But there are so many ways to support, and we just need to educate people on what those things are. There are so many foster care closets where people will take things for kids who come into care. Because when you get a call in the middle of the night for a newborn and you haven't had newborns in your home in 10 years, you're not prepared for that. And so there needs to be some sort of foster care closet that can support you. So there's that, there's monetary donations, there's volunteering and mentoring these kids. There's so many different things that you can do, but we as a society don't talk about it enough, that it's just not top of mind. When somebody wants to donate something, they might think about a Goodwill, because that's something that we have all heard of and we have seen when we're driving down the road, and it's just easier for us. And so the more that we can talk about this and the needs and share it with the world and create that awareness, I think it will become easier for people to say, oh, I want to help, and this is how I can. Another thing that we need to do better at as a society is asking for help. And this is the piece of advice that I give every single person who's signing up to foster. Even before you get your license and you're bringing in that first child, the average time that it takes to get licensed to become a foster parent is like 6 to 12 months, depending on where you are, your county. So it's a long time, right? There is a long runway of preparation. It's almost like a pregnancy, right? There's that amount of time where you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to bring a child into my home. With foster care, it's a little bit different in that you normally don't have that family or that community coming alongside of you to throw the baby shower or to take care of your Amazon wish list, because it's not something that's physically able to be seen. Like, you're not able to physically see my stomach growing for 9 months and to understand that I'm going to have a new life in my home. And it's not something that I'm necessarily talking about because I'm filling out paperwork at this point. I don't know exactly who's joining my home in 9 months. And so I think we as foster parents need to do a better job of raising our hands and saying, this is a process that I'm going through, and start talking about it at the very beginning. Just educate your friends and family, educate your neighborhood, tell them that this is going to be something that's going on in your life. Because when that little boy or little girl does show up, to have a community walk alongside of you and create a meal train or drop diapers off on your front porch, that is what will keep you going. And so, if we are able to swallow our pride and get through maybe an uncomfortable conversation with a family member who might not understand foster care or understand why you're taking this path, if we can get through all that and ask for help, we will be much more successful as foster parents because we have that support. And so that's something that I try to encourage people to do, is just talk about it, because if we have that community around us, we will be much more successful, not even just foster parents, but much more successful at parenting because you have that community.
absolutely. It takes a village for sure. One of the things that I've done some research, but one of the things that says that you did prehabbing, and that's
Mhm.
like before the crisis hits. What is that?
Yeah, it's exactly that. That's just the planning, the prehab instead of rehab, right? In so many things in life, we think about, oh, the injury happens or the catastrophe happens, and how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to bounce back? All those terms. And so, if we can slow down enough and back up and say, okay, this thing is on the horizon, it is coming down the pipeline. How can I prepare? How can I prehab? That's just our way of putting ourselves in a better situation when it is time for whatever to happen.
Phew. Okay, let's. This is mind-boggling, and thank you so much for sharing. Let's go 10 years into the future. What outcomes do you hope that the Bananas Fosters has made?
Oh, it's such a deep question. I would be so proud if our organization leads to more people carrying the burden of foster care. Right now, there are 400,000 children in the United States who do not have a permanent home, and we have way less than 400,000 foster families. And so, simple math, your current foster families are taking on multiple cases at a time. That's what's happening. Our bleeding hearts are saying, yes, bring them over. Yes, I can handle another. And that's probably not the best way to serve, is to just take on more. And so, the whole many hands makes light work. It is so true in this situation because if we just spread out how many people we're helping, then each of us could say yes to one child and we could truly focus on their needs and support them and support their family and walk alongside of them in a deeper way than when we're juggling the normal life, work, job, house, biological children, sick parents, whatever else we're juggling. And now we're taking on 3 or 4 cases, and each of them have different court dates and different visitations and different therapies and different medications. And so it's a lot to handle when it's built up like that. I would be so proud if Bananas Foster could help kind of even that out and allow children to get more one-on-one focus from a family and really felt chosen by a family to have that family be just theirs rather than putting multiple kids in a home. The only difference to that would be sibling sets because I just believe that siblings are so much better off if they are able to stay together normally. But again, if you've got multiple children in a home, it's hard to say yes to sibling sets because now you're exponentially increasing your number of children. And so, yeah, that would make me the most proud, I think, is if we could just spread that out and make a lot of children feel more special.
My goodness, I believe that we can and we will, and you're doing it. You're doing a fantastic job. I guess the biggest support you're asking for from our listeners is pass it on to other
Yeah.
people, to
Yeah.
tell, talk about it, to just be aware that these kids, where do they stay? These 400,000 kids, where do they stay?
Well, hopefully they are in a foster home that can care for them in the way that they need. But sadly, that's not always true. There are children every single day in every single state sleeping on the floor of county buildings. But true, that's the reality. Sometimes they get quote unquote lucky enough to be moved to a hotel or a nursing home where there's extra rooms. But quite often there are stories of kids on cots, kids sleeping under desks, kids in conference rooms because they are brought in. They are deemed, their home is deemed unsafe for whatever reason. And so they are brought into the county to be in a safer place, but there is not a family with an open bed. And there's nobody available. And so the county or the agency or whomever is responsible now for this child just lets them stay there and cares for them as best they can, but that's another whole topic is how overworked and how hard that job is. But yes, there are kids every single day sleeping in buildings that they should not be sleeping in.
I am so incredibly grateful for you and your family, Emily, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, if it stopped today, if for whatever reason it stopped today, you have already made a massive impact, and you've made it the awareness is so much greater because of what you're doing, and thank you very, very much.
That's very kind, but we have a lot of work to do still.
Exactly, exactly. What's one question I should have asked you that I didn't?
Oh, great question. I would say maybe just learning about foster care, like where can people start, is something that is intimidating, right? That first step is always the most intimidating, but I think that there are a lot of resources out there that I didn't know about until I started looking into adoption. And so I think that a lot of the world is unaware that these topics are there. There are a lot of books about it, there are a lot of podcasts about it, there are a lot of organizations that are writing articles. And so my ask for people is not to call the local agency today and start their training. I understand that that's not realistic, but just that awareness and the education. If you could listen to a podcast on a drive and just get 1% more information about foster care in your brain, it might be 7 years before that information turns into something, and that's okay. But anytime we ingest the educational materials about this, I believe that it can help us down the road. And so, any podcast, any book, bananasfoster.org, even if you just visit it or check out the Instagram for the pretty pictures, right? Anything that you can do to just get it in your brain, I think would be a great starting point for people. And so I just love that question of how can I start to learn about it? Hey, I'm not ready to commit. How can I start to learn about it? It's like just search it on Google, right? There's just information out there that you don't know about yet. So
That's beautiful. I love it. All right, Emily, thank you so much. Very much appreciate that your time. I just last thing I just have to say to you, I got to go to a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, you want to go to a ball game?" I had never heard of you guys before. She's like, "You want to go to a ball game?" I understand. I was very privileged to get to go. I mean, you guys literally sell out continuously. You make sure that your fans, that was the best time I have ever had in public.
oh.
I mean, really, what you do is that's why I needed to meet you. I like, how can you create? It was like the all the bad stuff in the world did not exist anymore. Just
Mm,
for that time that you're there, you are fully there, and it was so much fun. And I thank you guys for what you're doing. You're bringing joy back to our country, and it's awesome.
that's a beautiful compliment. Thank you so much for those words.
Thank you. Take care.